tonight, still on the rise. Unemployment numbers remain high, but is there an end in sight?
And impeached a second time, how the two congressmen from our area voted on a historic measure in D.C.
Plus, who are the Boogaloo Boys? We take a look at the extremist group that has officials concerned as we draw closer to the inauguration.
From CBS3 Duluth, this is the CBS3 News at 6.
Good evening, I'm Kristen Bakke.
And I'm Anthony Matt. Thanks for joining us tonight. The Minnesota National Guard is on standby for protests or violence at the state capitol in the coming days. The FBI has Minnesota on its radar because of the presence of an extremist group here.
The U.S. Attorney's Office charged 3 men connected to the Boogaloo Boys for crimes committed in Minnesota following the death of George Floyd. Jeff Wagner learned how the group's overall mission lines up with new threats against the state capitol.
Protesters flooded Twin Cities streets last summer, at times turning destructive. Experts say the rioting served as an ideal backdrop for members of the Boogaloo Boys.
They're just looking for opportunities to create chaos.
Lisa Waldner is an associate dean and professor at the University of St. Thomas who studies extremist and militia groups in the U.S. She says the Boogaloo Boys' mission is to incite a second civil war, and the current climate across the country is a new opportunity. Specifically, the potential armed protests the FBI is warning could happen at all 50 state capitals.
It's an anti-government, an anti-establishment protest, which is something that would also resonate with them. Given their propensity to show up armed with weapons, anytime, folks like that mobilize, it should be of concern to law enforcement.
The deadly siege at the U.S. Capitol is pushing Minnesota leaders to be prepared for similar attacks at the state capitol. State Patrol has already increased its presence there. Now Governor Tim Walz plans to activate the National Guard.
I think what you could expect to see is an appropriate presence of folks there to ensure that there's peaceful gatherings, to make sure that the intent to do damage to any of the buildings will not happen.
What we can't see are investigators searching for clues online on who might incite violence, where, and when.
Some of those are a little more difficult to find because they move to kind of corners of the internet, but there's folks that are trained to make sure that they're looking for that.
Waldner says that preparedness level could be a deterrent.
So I do think the amount of attention that this has been getting actually might discourage people from participating.
The Department of Homeland Security says to contact law enforcement if you see anything suspicious.
The House of Representatives has voted to impeach President Trump for a second time in 13 months. This comes after last week's riot at the U.S. Capitol. Unlike the first impeachment, this time several Republicans joined with Democrats. The third-ranking House Republican, Liz Cheney, and several of her GOP colleagues voted yes. Meanwhile, Wisconsin Congressman Tom Tiffany voted no to impeachment. The Republican represents the northwest portion of the state. He accused the Democrats of not following through on their calls for unity and peace.
I was among the first to condemn the riots in Madison months ago, and I condemn what happened last week. But where were the swift accusations of incitement and insurrection from the other side last year?
Tiffany called on President-elect Joe Biden to stop ongoing impeachment efforts.
Meanwhile, Minnesota's 8th District Congressman Pete Stauber also voted against impeachment today. While he condemned the riot at the nation's capital, Stauber says impeaching President Trump would further divide the nation. He says Trump has just days left in his presidency and has promised a peaceful transfer of power. Stauber says he will attend President-elect Biden's inauguration. Minnesota's governor has once again extended the state's peacetime emergency. Governor Tim Walz announced the extension by another 30 days. The order allows him to continue to use executive orders to direct the state's response to the coronavirus pandemic. With the legislature in session, the governor no longer needs to call special sessions to give lawmakers a chance to challenge those extensions.
House Democrats in Minnesota are laying out their big-ticket items for the current legislative session. Their main focus is helping Minnesotans who are struggling due to the pandemic. House Speaker Melissa Hortman said, while the vaccine brings hope, there is still a long way to go before life returns to normal. Duluth Representative Liz Olson said they will continue to protect the health, safety, and economic security of residents and create an environment where everyone can thrive.
Lawmakers and anti-copper nickel mining groups are introducing legislation that could deal a big blow to projects like PolyMet. Called Prove It First, the bill has the support of Duluth's State Senator Jen McEwen. It would require scientific proof that a similar mine has operated somewhere else in the United States for at least 10 years and has been closed for another 10 years without causing pollution. PolyMet is currently moving forward with a copper-nickel mine in Hoyt Lakes. They are fully permitted, but some are being challenged in the courts. This bill is based on a similar law that was passed in Wisconsin.
We're not willing to serve as a test case for a bunch of wealthy, super wealthy billionaire corporations coming into our area to do these experimental projects in our region that put our economy at risk, that put our public health at risk, and that put our whole region in danger.
The bill will officially be introduced tomorrow. Meanwhile, Mining Minnesota, a pro-copper-nickel mining group, says safe mining has already been proven. In a statement, they said Minnesota has a comprehensive, science-based environmental review and permitting process. They added this legislation claims the professionals and state agencies were wrong in issuing the permits.
Let's head over to Dave now, get a quick check on the weather. Dave, is that snow moving any closer so far?
It's moving a little closer, but at the same time, it's also starting to take a dive towards the south.
Okay.
So the brunt of the precip likely will be out of our area. We're still getting some, and so we're still looking at some advisories and some watches. Winter weather advisory will go into effect at midnight tonight for northwestern Minnesota. Stay there till about 6 o'clock on Friday, and for much of the rest of our region, including the head of the lakes, east central Minnesota, the shoreline of Lake County and northwestern Wisconsin, that's a winter storm watch that could last into parts of Saturday, thanks to lake influence keeping things going till Saturday morning. So eyeing up the bigger picture here, low pressure system coming in from the west is leading with rain right now and could start to make a little light snow in our area for Minnesota after midnight and in Wisconsin and Michigan after about 3 o'clock in the morning. The short-term forecast here says tonight 40% chance for that precip after midnight, 50% chance it'll try to mess up your morning commute, and a 70% shot we'll be getting it Thursday afternoon. Could spill into Friday for some towns, Saturday morning for others. How much are we going to get? I've got the latest chart figured out, and I'll show it to you in a few more minutes.
Thanks, Dave. The new, more contagious strain of COVID-19 has been detected in Wisconsin. The Department of Health Services says they found it through samples collected in testing. It was first discovered in the UK last month. The new strain has also turned up in Minnesota. Health officials say it isn't any deadlier and vaccines should be effective against it.
And in Michigan's UP, more people are now eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. That includes frontline essential workers like teachers and corrections workers and adults 65 and older. You're asked to contact your local health department to set up an appointment.
St. Luke's is restricting visitors again after a more contagious strain of COVID-19 arrived in Minnesota. Effective right away, no visitors will be allowed at St. Luke's, but there are some exceptions, including one parent or guardian for pediatric patients and an adult support person for anyone giving birth. The hospital says other exceptions may be made on a case-by-case basis. Hospital leaders say they're making the move out of an abundance of caution. Unemployment numbers continue to rise as the coronavirus continues to spread. According to the U.S. Labor Department, 140,000 jobs were cut nationwide in December.
The Minnesota Department of Economics and Employment hasn't released their data yet, but experts say the trends are looking similar. CBS3's Emma Quinn spoke with state and local data analysts about what we can expect going forward.
Unemployment numbers continue to rise across the country, and Minnesota Department of Economics and Employment experts say they expect December's data will likely resemble that.
In November, when a lot of these data are collected, that was prior to the most recent round of COVID restrictions that were enacted by the state. So it's likely that we will see some declines.
Across the country, the leisure and hospitality industries have taken the biggest hit. Duluth's Director of Workforce Development, Elena Fauché, says while the summer season went well, roughly 7,000 industry jobs in the Duluth area have been lost since the start of the pandemic.
I think we're going to be in kind of a lull until next summer. There's high hopes once the weather starts to warm up again. Our tourism sector will recover.
Data analysts say one trend they're seeing, more people leaving the labor force altogether.
Labor force participation has declined more so than employment has increased. So that means that people have just stopped looking for work and chosen to leave the labor force for a number of reasons.
And Fauché says this could impact the trends as we head into 2021.
Employers who are hiring right now are having a hard time. There's just not a lot of slack in the labor force. There's a lot of people who aren't looking for work right now for various reasons.
According to Fauché, roughly 5,000 people in St. Louis County are currently claiming unemployment benefits. This number is down from the peak of the pandemic when that number was around 15,000.
Still to come on Live Local CBS 3, after the death of a titan in the local journalism industry, we take a look back at the life of Bill Hanna.
Today's high temp got pretty close to 40 degrees, almost, or actually double exactly what it is supposed to be this time of year. Well, we will cool down for the weekend, as I've mentioned, but in between, we've got some snow to deal with tonight and tomorrow and Friday as well. We'll talk about how much could come down coming up after our break.
Local news and local weather here on CBS 3.
Here from Discover Wisconsin. Join me and the rest of the crew every week on this station for all things Wisconsin. Continue the adventure on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and discoverwisconsin.com. Plus, subscribe to the Cabin Podcast, available wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Epilepsy can affect anyone with a brain.
It does not discriminate.
If you have a brain,
you can get epilepsy.
But here's something that's just as important to know.
Anyone with a brain can affect epilepsy.
So let's use our brains to do just that.
Let's change the way people think about epilepsy.
To find cures.
Because if all of us can get epilepsy,
all of us can end epilepsy.
We just need to use our brains.
Let's use our brains.
Let's use our brains.
Let's use our brains to end epilepsy.
Heart attacks and strokes happen, even in the midst of COVID-19, and at least one will occur while you're watching this. Heart attacks and strokes are medical emergencies. If you experience symptoms of a heart attack or stroke, do not delay seeking care. Call 911 immediately. Hospitals are prepared and can safely treat you. Visit cdc.gov/coronavirus to learn more.
Everything that happens on a day-to-day basis in terms of news, no matter what happens in news, weather is always constant, weather is always changing as well. So it's still an important role as the meteorologist to kind of still stay grounded and to kind of just know that role and what to take and kind of just make sure you're delivering what's the most important for your viewers. But then also I like to touch base on the national things. All of those news stories also tie in with weather stories because they do go kind of hand in hand.
Watch Jenna and Caitlin in the morning at 5 and 6 a.m.
3, 2, 1. Open for business. You're doing it! I'm doing it!
I know Gina from high school, and she's donating a kidney.
I'm a giver.
Big smiles. Not the pageant one, Jill, the real one.
I'm more jazzed than I thought I'd be, and that was pretty jazzed.
The comedy starts at 8/7 Central, Thursdays on CBS.
Join us weeknights. We're live at 5 as we go around the Northland, city by city.
When severe weather hits, tune to CBS 3 for up-to-date coverage morning and night. Now, the CBS 3 Duluth Weather Max forecast with meteorologist Dave Anderson.
Even though the biggest, heaviest snows of this snow pressure system could be going to the south of our area, we'll still get some, and so there still are some alerts we need to talk about. A winter weather advisory is going to be covering Koochiching County, Itasca County, and Aiken County here through probably Friday night. And the rest of our region, most of the rest of the region, looks at a winter storm watch. It could hit us but it might miss us. So that includes the Twin Ports region, parts of the North Shore, east central Minnesota, northwestern Wisconsin. Right now it looks like the least of the snows could be falling interior parts of Minnesota's Arrowhead or towards the Upper Peninsula, or as I like to think, since folks in the UP are so used to huge snows, anything less than a foot they don't have to worry about. So bottom line is 3 to 6 inches for a lot of places, a little less for others. We'll show you who's who in just a bit. Right now we take a quick look at what's going on in Two Harbors. The streets are clean right now, but again, by tomorrow morning, they could start to get a little bit slick as our low-pressure system dodges us on one hand, but still clips us with its northern fringes on the other. Right now at the airport in Duluth, calm wind, 27 degrees current temp, 72% for relative humidity, and air pressure creeping down at 29.64 inches of mercury. Current temperatures still on the warmer than normal side, mid-20s for the Upper Peninsula, including Ironwood. You go across the bridge into Hurley, it's 25 there as well, 26 Ashland, a little warmer Hayward, and 26 degrees for our friends in Superior, 32 towards Moose Lake, just a hair cooler around Cloquet and Carleton, mid-20s for much of the North Shore, and lower 20s for the Vermilion Range, upper teens for some parts of the Mesabi, mid-20s towards border country. Low temps tonight, I think they're going to run from perhaps upper teens inland to maybe mid-20s right by the lake. Current Doppler satellite map shows there was a little bit of precip earlier in the day down to the south of our region. That's in advance of this warm front attached to the low pressure system. That's bringing us a 70 to 80% chance for the snow after midnight tonight through probably Friday evening for most towns. But again, that low will likely go to the south and around our area, so we're not going to get clobbered directly by it, but still that means 3 to 6 inches of snow for much of the rest of the region here once we get through Friday night, 1 to 3 for the Arrowhead and the Upper Peninsula. And again, those snow totals could get a little bit heavier for the South Shore through Saturday morning thanks to a little lake influence. But it looks like a moderate snowfall for a lot of towns rather than a really big knock you down, bruise you up kind of blizzard deal. For tonight, Minnesota, 40% chance for the snow after midnight. And in Wisconsin and Michigan, it may not get to you until about 4 o'clock in the morning or so, but it's a 50-50 shot you guys get. And then for tomorrow, then 80% chance for the snow in Wisconsin, highs into the lower 30s. And upper 20s to mid-30s for Minnesota with that 70% snow chance, which continues to be a 60% snow chance through Friday. So if we get 2 to 4 on Thursday, another 1 to 3 could fall on Friday. And Saturday, Minnesota should be cloudy with perhaps a little lake snow for the South Shore. Then finally by Sunday and Monday, we clear up a little bit and cool down a bit as well. High temp for Martin Luther King Jr. Day is back to normal, 19 above.
Thanks, Dave. Tonight, we're remembering an Iron Range legend. Bill Hanna was the longtime executive director of the Mesabi Tribune and had been with the paper for more than 30 years.
We got word Hanna passed away Monday at the age of 70. CBS 3's Leon Valdez spoke to people who knew him about the legacy he'll leave behind.
In journalism, there are two sides to every story. And those who knew the late Bill Hanna would say the same about him.
The one everybody saw first and foremost was his journalistic side.
Regional president and publisher of APG Media, Chris Knight, has known Hanna for 25 years.
Bill and I worked out a pretty good working relationship, and then I became his publisher.
Knight says Hanna was a well-respected journalist across Minnesota.
It wasn't uncommon to walk by Bill's office when he was at the Mesabi Daily News, and Amy Klobuchar would be in there, or maybe Mark Dayton.
Virginia Mayor Larry Cuffey Jr. can attest to Hanna's grit.
Bill Hanna was a bulldog. I mean, when he got his teeth into a story, he never let go.
Mayor Cuffey Jr. says he was an old-school reporter and a force to be reckoned with.
He was tenacious, but he was fair.
Hanna also had a soft side, says Knight.
Had a big family. He was originally from Northeast Minneapolis and really proud of being from there.
Hanna, a busy journalist, always made time for what was important in life, says Knight.
Very close to his family. They got together often. He traveled to Minneapolis to spend a lot of time with them.
Knight shares Hanna was a huge Twins baseball fan, and he caught a Joe Mauer home run ball at one of their home games.
He also ended up giving the ball that he caught to a young child that was sitting in front of him. So kind of speaks to Bill's big heart, too.
A tough journalist with a kind heart. Someone Knight calls irreplaceable.
You can't fill his shoes. You just have to go about it in another way.
According to the Mesabi Tribune, funeral arrangements are pending with a funeral home in Minneapolis.
Still ahead in sports, who's playing and who is not. Kelly breaks down what UMD sports have their schedules altered next.
Northwest Outlet is your ARE truck topper headquarters.
CBS3 live cams are brought to you by Kohler Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac. You're not just getting a car, you're getting Kohler.
Whatever your water worry, Culligan Water can help. With over 40 filtration systems, including the world's best softener, no one filters more than Culligan Water. The only water that comes with a van. Contact Culligan, the local water experts.
We pick up the phone because it's ringing. Hello, this is Sam. That's simple human sense.
Ask J3 Insurance in Duluth if auto owners make sense for you.
Everything that happens on a day-to-day basis in terms of news, no matter what happens in news, weather is always constant, weather is always changing as well. So it's still an important role as the meteorologist to kind of still stay grounded and to kind of just know that role and what to take and kind of just make sure you're delivering what's the most important for your viewers. But then also I like to touch base on the national things. All of those news stories also tie in with weather stories because they do go kind of hand in hand.
Watch Jenna and Caitlin in the morning at 5 and 6 a.m.
Everything that happens on a day-to-day basis in terms of news, no matter what happens in news, weather is always constant, weather is always changing as well. So it's still an important role as the meteorologist to kind of still stay grounded and to kind of just know that role and what to take and kind of just make sure you're delivering what's the most important for your viewers. But then also I like to touch base on the national things. All of those news stories also tie in with weather stories because they do go kind of hand in hand.
Watch Jenna and Caitlin in the morning at 5 and 6 a.m.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Mining. It's a part of Minnesota's history that affects everyone in the Northland still to this day. From environmental issues to economics and so much more. Join me, Kristen Bakke, every Tuesday for Eye on Mining, a fair and unbiased report that answers the tough questions surrounding the world of mining.
Eye on Mining with Kristen Bakke. Tuesdays at 10 only on live local CBS3. Brought to you by Iron Mining Association. When severe weather hits, tune to CBS3 for up-to-date coverage morning and night. Now, CBS3 Sports with Kelly Hinson.
It's absolutely not the news college hockey fans wanted to wake up to this Wednesday morning before a UMD road series. But this is still the world we live in, with COVID cases continually on the rise. As a result, UMD's game against Miami, Ohio, this weekend is postponed to the end of the month. According to UMD, this is due to a combination of positive COVID-19 tests, contact tracing, and subsequent quarantining of individuals within the program. Currently, all players are in quarantine and doing off-ice Zoom workouts, and that is it. This is the first series this year that the men's hockey team has had altered. A few NCHC teams already had series postponed previously, post-pod, and the UMD women's team has seen 2 of their series fall victim to COVID-19 as well. So for the men's team, this is uncharted territory.
We're just kind of in the wait and see, right? You know, we haven't gone through this yet. You know, a lot of teams have, and unfortunately, we're going through it now.
And the series has been postponed to the end of the month. The team has a number of bye weekends that are just in case this is to happen more than once this season. The team has only done off-ice activities this week, including yoga and virtual team meetings. No word on when they'll be able to reconvene for practice on the ice.
It's something that we've tried to prepare guys for all year. We got through the pod and we knew there was going to be these possibilities as we get into the second half with everybody, and you're seeing that. It's just difficult because it's so rapid, but those things happen, and we got to take this and make sure that we're doing what we can do when we're not on the rink, and when we get back, try and get back up to speed as quick as possible.
And as of this moment in time, UMD's next scheduled series is January 22nd and 23rd at home against Western Michigan. On the other side of things, after almost a 2-week hiatus, the UMD men's basketball team will return to the court this Friday when they host UMary. It's been an interesting week so far for the team. They held their first practice yesterday since the team was shut down, and they will only have 2 full practices before Friday's game. Just 1 day of testing remains. Head coach Justin Wick says they have to get over that hurdle. After that, he says the team's mentality remains the same.
The expectations in this program, these guys know what the expectations are to win. Mary or anybody else we play is not going to feel sorry for us, so we've got to be ready to roll. The expectation of these guys is to win both these games this weekend.
And tip-off for Friday's game is scheduled for 6 p.m. And for the women's squad, they once again are facing game cancellations due to exposures and testing protocols within their program. This weekend's contest against UMary is off, which marks the second and third time this season the team has had a game canceled. The team admits it's been a hard situation, but they're trying to look at the positives of what they've been able to do so far.
When we're on this roller coaster ride this year, just make the best of it and be there for each other. And we have one choice, or we have, basically 2 choices. You can have a terrible attitude and feel sorry for yourself, or just keep pushing forward, trying to make yourself better in any way that you possibly can while we go through moments like this.
The Bulldogs will return to action on January 22nd at MSU Moorhead. So to sum up, the women's basketball team is off, men's basketball is on, men's hockey is off, and women's hockey is on. We're going to have a preview of their series against Ohio State tonight at 10. Hope you can remember that. Kristen and Tony, I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Kelly. With all the chaos in the nation's political realm right now, it's a tough time and thing to explain to children. Tonight on the CBS3 News at 10, we'll hear from a political expert who will give you some tricks to tackle that tough conversation.
All right, Dave, you're still keeping an eye on that potential snow. How's it looking out there?
Well, it's looking fair right now and fine, perhaps, until about midnight tonight.
Okay.
Then that low from the west starts to graze our area, kicking up the clouds and kicking out some snow. And by Thursday afternoon, it's a 70% chance for 2 to 4 inches for many of our towns, with the follow-up 1 to 3 on Friday. So in the end, I'm thinking 3 to 6 for a lot of places, and a little lake effect could spill into Saturday as well. Then temperatures will start to go back towards normal once we get towards Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Thanks for joining us.
See you at 10.